In today's video, we're doing all new Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs. I've been wanting to create this tree for a couple of years now, and I'm finally doing it. I'm so excited to show it to you. So we're gonna be making a tree with all thrifted bowls. So first you need to start out with a base. So I think finding a candlestick is a great option. I went with this really sturdy one that I found at a thrift store, and honestly, I love the gold color of it. It was perfect. Then you're going to need to pick up a variety of bowls. You can get these from the thrift store. You may have them at your house, or you could find them at garage sales, but I was looking for bowls that kind of had a scallop trim to them. And again, you want to get them in different sizes because we're going to be stacking these up. So first I'm going to start with my largest bowl, and I'm going to place it upside down on my candlestick. So I'm going to add E6000 to the top of the candle holder, and then I'm going to place the bowl directly in the middle. Next, I'm going to go with my next size bowl, and I placed it onto the bowl upside down just to see where it was touching so I would know where to add the glue. Once I figured that out, I added E6000 to that bowl and I placed it on. And I'm gonna do that with my next bowl. I'm trying to create that tree shape. So I'm gonna add it on with E6000. Now, I didn't want to add all of my bowls before it had a chance to set up, so I actually stopped there and let it sit overnight and give it a chance to dry. The next day I came in and I added my additional bowls. Now, I did get a bowl that had a lid because I thought the top of that lid would be perfect to put on the top of my tree. So I added on my smaller bowls with E6000, gave it another day to dry, and I have to tell you, I absolutely love the way this turned out. I think it's gonna be perfect for the holidays. The next time you're shopping at Dollar Tree, look for these gold glitter placemats. When I saw these, I knew I could turn them into trees. So let me show you how easy this is to do. So you're gonna take one of the placemats and you're going to start rolling it up so that one end is really tightly rolled and the other is a little bit wider. So I'm gonna roll it all the way up. Now, if for any reason the top isn't tight, just take it out and re-roll it up. I also cut off the end before I glued it down because I wanted it to just have a nice straight edge. Then I put a bead of hot glue on the edge and then wrapped it all the way and held it in place. Now it was coming up a little bit, so I added additional hot glue and just held it in place. Now I bought 2 of these placemats, so I'm gonna do the exact same thing with my second placemat. I'm gonna wrap it up, cut off the excess, and hot glue it to hold it in place. Now, depending on how tall you want these placemat trees to be, so cut your trees level at the base. You could have them the same size or have one that's smaller. Here's how my placemat trees turned out. Do you guys remember these gold sconces that I found at the thrift store? During the fall, I put out some Halloween candles that I made and they looked gorgeous. So I wanted to figure out a way to update them for Christmas. So I have these bottle brush trees from Dollar Tree and I'm going to place these into my candle holders. It's a fun way that you can display trees hanging on your wall. I bought the Walmart viral Christmas trees to show you. These are by My Texas House and they come in so many different sizes. This one is the 4-foot one. So this tree comes with a really sturdy basket base and then the tree part. Okay, there's 2 pieces to the tree. This might actually be pretty big. It also comes in a smaller version. So for our next DIY, you're gonna need 2 things. You're gonna need a clear jar and some puff paint. I'm gonna be using white puff paint. So we're gonna be making trees on the side of our jars. So to do that, I'm gonna draw a straight line on my jar with the puff paint. Then using a popsicle stick, or you could also use probably a paint skewer as well, you're gonna start moving the paint from side to side. At the top, you want it to be pointed, and then as you get to the bottom, you want it to progressively get wider. And then leave a little room at the bottom for your stick. Now, I was going to add trees all the way around, but I wanted them to be different sizes. So when I put the puff paint on, some of the puff paint I put a little bit lower and then just used that popsicle stick to make my tree. Some of them I made a little bit taller. And I did this all the way around and then I let it dry. And I repeated these steps for my second base. Now, once they have a chance to dry, you can add a little bit of Epsom salt at the bottom. It makes the perfect snow look, and you can get it practically anywhere. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Comment the word of the day, which is tree. So I have this little area in my bedroom that has pictures, and I wanted to decorate it for Christmas. So when I was at the thrift store, I found this horn and I thought it would be perfect. So I picked that up and I spray painted it with a metallic gold color on both sides. After that dried, I wanted to put it in a box on my green table in my bedroom. I did have to cut off the string. I wasn't sure if I was going to use that or not, but I did cut off the string. So while I was thrifting, I found this really pretty box that I thought would be perfect. I started by putting some stems into this box, but to put these into the box, because the box was smaller, I did have to bend the stems at the bottom, and I placed the branches so they were going out on both sides. Now the stems I'm using are the stems that I used last year all the time for Christmas. They're off of Amazon and they're gorgeous. You could put them in a vase, you could put them in your garland. I'm gonna be putting them in this box. If you're looking for the link, I'll put it for you down below, or I'll put the QR code right here. You can scan it and go to those branches. I placed the horn inside, and where the string had been connected, I just used a little bit of rub and buff to disguise that. I also added in some pine cones just to kind of finish it off. And then I placed it on my green table in my room. Now above my green table, I have these pictures, and I wanted to kind of dress those up as well. So I found some branches at Hobby Lobby, and for each of my frames, I'm gonna be using 2 branches. So I took 2 of the branches and placed them the opposite way, connecting them, and then using some twine, I tied them in the middle and cut off the excess twine. I did turn it to the back and hot glue those stems in place just to make sure it was held really well. So I did this 4 times because I have 4 frames. Then I wanted to add some ribbon to the middle. You guys remember in the fall where I bought this velvet ribbon? It was absolutely gorgeous. I knew I was gonna get it for Christmas, so that's what I'm gonna be using for the ribbons. So I had some red velvet ribbon. I'm gonna tie it in a bow. Don't cut off your tails yet. Wait till you hang those up. Now to add these to my picture frames, what I did was I took a piece of twine and I tied it in the middle of my bow, and then I took the picture frame off the wall and I placed it on the front, and then with the 2 twine pieces, I just taped them on the back with some painter's tape. I felt like that would come off really well at the end of the season, and then I just hung it back on the wall. And I did this with all 4 of the picture frames. After I had them on the wall, I did cut off the tails so they weren't covering any of my pictures. And here's how this area in my bedroom turned out. I'm gonna show you how to make some trees from doilies that you can buy at Dollar Tree. So I bought this big pack. I love that it comes with the variety of sizes, perfect for making a tree. You're also going to need some kind of frame. I found this blackboard that they had. So I'm gonna start by folding the doilies up. So you wanna get one of your doily pieces, you're gonna fold it in half and then fold it in half again. And you're going to do this with all 4 of the sizes. Just fold it in half and then fold it again. Next, you're going to place these onto your frame, and you just want to make sure that it's going to fit on there well. I felt like this was a good size and I could use all 4 of the pieces. Now to cover my frame, I bought this wrapping paper for another DIY that I did with some wall art. So I had different plaids to choose from. So I pulled out one that I liked, I cut it down to size, and then to figure out how big to make it, I just placed it in my frame and then I cut it off. And then once it fit in there, I added some E6000 to hold it down in place. Then I added on the doilies. So I used a little bit of hot glue and placed it on the back of my doily. And then where the doily kind of came up, where I folded it, I just added some hot glue to hold it down. Then for the next one, I put it on there so I could see a little bit of that white piece so that I knew they'd each be about the same height. And I added hot glue the same way I did on the bottom one. I did this with the third piece and my fourth piece. And this makes a great wall art that you can set out for the holidays. I love using books in my holiday decor. You can buy them at the thrift store or Dollar Tree. So I bought these at Dollar Tree. You just want to look for some hardback books. Now, to make them fit into your decor, my decor this year is going to be very traditional reds and greens. So I wanted to cover them with a plaid fabric. I got my fabric at Hobby Lobby and I'm going to place it out on my table. After I take the covers off my books, I'm going to place it down onto my book and I'm going to cut around the fabric so I have about 1.5 inches on every side. Now, the best way to put on fabric is to use this fabric adhesive. It is so good. I love using it whenever I put fabric onto lampshades. That works really well, but it works great for books as well. So you're going to spray your entire piece of fabric. Now, I will warn you, this is sticky, so you want to be really careful when you're putting this on. So I'm going to start by placing it on the spine. Then I'm going to do one side and just smooth it out. Make sure you don't pull your fabric too much because then you'll get your plaid fabric not having the lines on there really well. But the spray is forgiving, so if you don't like the way it looks, you can peel it up and put it back on. Now with the spine area, I am going to cut that off so I just have maybe about 1 centimeter, and then I'll just wrap that around. Then I'm going to tuck in the edges on my books, but for the other edges, I'll just wrap it around, and when I get to those corner pieces, I will cut off any excess. So I'm going to do that on both sides of my book. And then I'm going to repeat all of these steps to make a second book. And then you can style these in your home. You can save so much money by thrifting of your Christmas decor, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Christmas decor. When I was shopping at the thrift store, I found these gorgeous glass candle holders, and they were each $3. And what I was really excited about is they each had a pair. I don't know if this was a set that somebody brought to the thrift store, but I was so excited to find them. So I brought them home and I cleaned them up really well. I like to clean everything that I get from the thrift store. Once these had dried, I added in some green tapered candles that I bought from Amazon. If you're looking for them, I'll put the QR code right here so you can scan it and it will take you to those green candles, or I'll put the link down below in the description box. I feel like these candles were so easy to do, but they look great for the holidays. So last year I was lucky enough to go to Hobby Lobby when they had their Christmas stuff 90% off. So I got a few cool items. One of the cool items I got were these cone trees, and I saved them to use this year. So I bought 2 of these trees, and there's so many things you could do with these trees. I decided to wrap them with a thick, chunky yarn. You can get this yarn at Hobby Lobby as well. I got a red and green one. Those are my colors this year. So I started by hot gluing the yarn at the top, and then I wrapped it around the cone, and I'm going to add hot glue in a bead all the way down on my cone tree, and I'll just continue to wrap it up. Whenever I don't have any hot glue, I'll just add a little bit more. You don't want to add too much while you're wrapping because the hot glue will set up before you have a chance to wrap, but you're going to continue to add hot glue and wrap it up until you get to the bottom. Once you get to the bottom, I do like to add a little bit more of hot glue all around the edge just to kind of hold everything in place. Cut off your excess, and then you're going to repeat these steps with your second tree, and I'll start at the top, wrapping it around the same exact way. I'm gonna place these trees in my living room. There's so many bottle brush trees that are out at Dollar Tree. You can find them in a variety of sizes. Another popular item that I got for this DIY is a basket. Gosh, they have made this basket in so many different colors and textures and sizes, so you could probably find one at your store. So I got one of these baskets, and I'm going to put 3 of the larger bottle brushes in there. I also bought this smaller packet where the bottle brush trees were in different sizes, and I'm just going to place these around my basket. I felt like this would make a great little display to put out for Christmas. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite DIY was. I love knowing your opinion. And make sure you subscribe because I want to see you back here, and I'll see you in our next one. Bye.